3 years ago, at the keynote launch for our newest software, I ended Lucas Thorne's career and half the hearing in his left ear with a single punch. By the second day of my holding cell stint, I was served with divorce papers. On the day of the hearing, my ex-wife flaunted her new marriage certificate with Lucas in my face, acting as his legal representative. In everyone's eyes, I was the obsessive, violent psycho. They were all waiting for me to get out of prison just to see me hunt Lucas down and try to reclaim a woman who didn't want me. Instead, the moment I was paraded out of the gates, I bought a one-way ticket and vanished. I didn't resurface until a crowded tourist season in the Blue Ridge Mountains, when a voice called out my name from across a smoky grill. I kept my eyes on the meat, my tone professional. Order for two? Do you want the habanero glaze or the honey mustard? Her eyes welled up with a sudden, painful redness. Caleb, have you really forgotten that I can't handle anything spicy? My expression didn't flicker. Apologies. I get hundreds of regulars through here every week. It's hard to keep the specifics straight. It's safer just to ask. The air around her seemed to freeze. Behind her, a line of impatient tourists began to grumble. Hey lady, you ordering or what? If not, move it along. This is the top-rated food truck in the valley, someone else chimed in. People wait an hour for these sliders. Sienna Sterling stared at me for a long time, her eyes stinging until she finally looked down and grabbed a few skewers of grilled chicken. No spice, she whispered. I flashed a polite, practiced smile. That'll be about 7 to 10 minutes. Take this buzzer and find a seat at the picnic tables, ma'am. I went back to work, my movements precise and efficient. Sienna watched my hands, calloused, red, and smelling of smoke and charcoal. Suddenly, she reached over the counter and tried to grab the tongs. Caleb, stop this. Look at you. I pulled back, my brow furrowing deeply. Ma'am, please don't interfere with my business. I have a long line of hungry customers. The people behind her were getting hostile. Is she crazy? Let the man work. Some of us have a schedule. Sienna looked like she'd been slapped. You people have no idea. Caleb Vance doing this. It's a tragedy. You have no idea what he's capable of, what his ambitions were. The tourists traded amused glances. What? Was he a CEO in past life? One guy joked. I had big dreams too, buddy. Now I'm driving Uber 12 hours a day, right? I was going to be the next Steve Jobs, another added. Now I'm just trying to pay off my student loans. Sienna looked at them with pure disdain, as if they were insects. You would understand, she snapped. She turned back to me, her gaze desperate. Caleb, please. I know you're not doing this because you want to. These hands weren't meant for flipping meat. The code you wrote, the systems you built, they were genius. You could be making 8 figures in Silicon Valley right now. Why are you hiding in a mountain town? Well, I didn't answer, her eyes filled with tears of self-reproach. Is it because of me? I know what happened back then was devastating, but I never thought you'd just give up. To sink this low. She looked at my apron as if it were a shroud of shame. Ma'am, I said, my voice flat. If you don't want the food, I can process a refund. But I need you to step aside so I can serve the next person. Sienna froze, caught between disbelief and pity. She wiped her eyes and sat down at a nearby bench. I am staying. I am eking. I turned back to the grill. Sienna sat there, crying quietly as she ate, occasionally looking up with puppy dog eyes, clearly hoping I'd come over and comfort her the way I used to. Instead, I just leaned over the counter and set a fresh pack of napkins near her. Ma'am, if you're in distress, there's a park ranger station about 500 yards that way. They can help you. That was the breaking point. Sienna couldn't handle the coldness. She covered her face and ran toward the parking lot. I didn't see her again until I was closing up for the night. She stepped out from the shadows of a nearby oak tree. How long have you been doing this? She pulled a thick envelope of cash out of her designer bag and set it on the stainless steel counter. I'm here on vacation. Spent 2 hours showing me around the trails. It'll pay better than this entire week of labor. I looked at the stack. It had to be at least $4,000. That would cover the specialized Lego set my daughter had been begging for. The grill was off. The meat was gone. Only an idiot turns down easy money. Sure, I know these woods better than anyone. I took the cash without a hint of embarrassment. Sienna's voice trembled. You used to look down on small change like this. I remember when a venture capitalist tried to buy my time for 50 grand, and you smashed a bottle of vintage Bordeaux over his head and walked away from a $10 million merger. Because of it. She looked at my grease-stained $10 t-shirt. Your skin is sensitive. You couldn't stand cheap polyester. You only wore bespoke Italian wool. A single pair of your old socks cost more than this entire food truck. She couldn't wrap her head around it. How the man who once commanded boardrooms and spent money like water could be so content. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I pointed toward the glowing structures perched on the cliffside above us. That's the overlook. We call it the castle in the clouds. It's the crown jewel of the resort. I gave her the standard tourist pitch, then looked back at her. Have you been up there yet? Sienna shook her head, her eyes never leaving my face. You should go. When you see the world from that height, things start to make sense. I used to think I'd never get over her. Looking back now, that version of me seems like a stranger. Sienna met my gaze, eyes that held no love, only polite transparency, and felt a sharp pang in her chest. Fina, lead the way. As we hiked up the trail, I acted like the perfect guide, chatting about the local flora and the history of the Appalachian settlers. I waved at the maintenance workers and other locals we passed. Hey, Caleb, moonlighting as a guide again? A local woodworker called out. Youth is wasted on the young, an old vendor joked. Grilling all day and hiking all night. Get that bread, son. Sienna watched my profile in the moonlight. Do you do this often? Whenever I close early, I said honestly, but most tourists aren't as generous as you. I flashed a grin, showing my teeth. It finally clicked for her. I wasn't doing this to spite her. I was genuinely happy about the money. Caleb, stop it. She grabbed my arm, her voice urgent. Even if we're divorced, I can't stand seeing you like this. This is beneath you. You're not an ordinary man. Even with a record, you could rebuild. You could start a new firm. She pulled out her phone and started typing frantically. I was afraid to reach out before. I thought you were doing okay, but to see you. This is for everything I owe you. Take it and start over. Without blinking, she initiated a transfer for $5 million. I just watched her silent. She thought I'd accepted the gesture, but then her screen flashed a red error message. Recipient account closed. Caleb, do you hate me that much? She looked up, tears streaming. That was the account you opened the night you proposed. The account number was my birthday and my lucky number. You said you'd keep it forever, that every dollar spent from it was a prayer for my happiness. Don't you want me to be happy anymore? I looked past her at a man walking up the trail. Your happiness is right there. Sienna stiffened and turned around slowly. Lucas Thorne was standing a few yards away, reaching out for her. Honey, I've been waiting for you at the summit. He tapped his phone. I texted you hours ago. When you didn't show, I got worried. Sienna looked back at me, my words echoing in her head. Short, but devastating. Seeing she wasn't moving, Lucas walked up and took her hand, whispering in her ear, Who's this, babe? I'd aged, sure. The sun and the wind had left their mark, but my face hadn't changed that much. Lucas was playing a game. This is Caleb, Sienna said, her voice brittle. Lucas feigned a gasp, covering his mouth. Oh my God, Caleb, what happened to you? His eyes raked over my faded shirt. Is that a Nick knockoff? Caleb, man, if you can't afford the real thing, don't try to fake it. It's embarrassing. Then, he pretended to realize his mistake and stepped behind Sienna. Sorry, I'm just blunt. No malice intended. Please don't hit me again. Sienna had to spend a fortune on my cochlear implants after what you did. Lucas's eyes were full of taunting triumph. I didn't react. Sienna used to find Lucas's honesty charming. Now it sounded grating. Lucas, that's enough. Lucas rolled his eyes and pouted. Fine, sorry. My bad. But you have to admit, the contrast is shocking. He pulled a black titanium card from his wallet. I heard Sienna wants to help you out, but I assume your old accounts were frozen 3 years ago. There's $5 million on this card. Consider it a gift. You'll never have to flip a burger again. I reached out as if to take it, but Lucas smirked and let it go before our fingers touched. The card fluttered down into the muddy edge of the trail. Oops, Lucas said. Slip of the hand. I remember you used to be a germaphobe, but after years of working a grease trap, I guess that's gone, right? I hear those food truck meats are all industrial grade. Mystery meat. Must be tough, selling that junk just to survive. A few hikers passing by with my sliders looked down at their food, disgusted. My eyes snapped to his, turning cold and sharp. Sienna, thinking I was about to swing, immediately stepped between us to shield him. I reached down, picked up the muddy card, and tossed it back at Lucas's chest. All vendors in this park are subject to strict health inspections and sourcing audits. If you have evidence of a violation, file a report with the county. My calm tone reassured the nearby tourists. They began to speak up in my defense. I saw the owner unloading fresh sides of beef and local chicken at dawn, one woman shouted. He even live streams his prep work to show how clean the kitchen is. There's no mystery meat in that truck. Lucas opened his mouth to retort, but Sienna's face had gone dark. Lucas, stop it. Now, he shut his mouth, though he looked like he was simmering. Sienna looked at me, her fingers trembling. I've overstayed my welcome. I won't bother you again. She paused. You've changed so much. 3 years ago, Sienna had promised to announce our marriage to the world at that keynote. But when I stepped out of the dressing room, I saw her on stage with Lucas. She was introducing him as the visionary behind the code I'd written. When reporters asked about their relationship, she just blushed and looked at the floor, letting the rumors fly. I had tried to keep my temper in check until the event was over. But then a photo arrived on my phone, an intimate private shot of Sienna and Lucas in a hotel room. Lucas had looked directly into the camera in the photo, a smirk on his face, mocking my victory. I was young, arrogant, and I didn't handle betrayal well. I stormed the stage and broke his face. Sienna seemed to be remembering it too. She gave me a bitter smile. If you'd been this calm back then, maybe we wouldn't be here. Lucas's face went pale at that comment. I remained silent. She sighed, her eyes full of a complex, messy grief. Lucas was out of line. I apologized for him. She took the black card, wiped the mud off with a silk handkerchief, and tried to press it into my hand. Take it. If you don't, I won't be able to sleep tonight. Lucas looked like he was about to blow a fuse, but he kept up his charitable act. I stepped back, putting several feet of mountain air between us. Your husband is here. I'm done being your guide. I don't need the $5 million. I pulled a few $100 bills from the stack she'd given me earlier and handed them back. We only spent 90 minutes on the trail. Here's your refund for the last half hour. I turned to walk away. Caleb, she screamed at my back. Can't you just swallow your pride for once? 3 years ago, you crippled a man because he took credit for a speech. You refused to apologize, even when it meant prison. And now, you're throwing away a future because you're still angry. Don't you realize you're only hurting yourself? You said you were going to change the world. Look at you. You can't even afford a decent life, let alone start a family. Your mother's dying wish was for you to have a family of your own. Have you forgotten that? She saw me flinch slightly and pressed harder. Are you going to let the Vance name end with a man selling barbecue in the woods? Take the money. Get a real job. Find a wife. Have a kid. Do it for the sake of what we used to have. She moved to shove the card into my pocket, but a small girl with blonde pigtails suddenly sprinted out of the brush and tackled my legs. Daddy, why aren't you home? Mommy and I were worried. My face transformed. I scooped the little girl up and kissed her cheeks. I'm coming, Peanut. Just finished up. Sienna froze. This is your daughter? I looked at the girl. Where's Mommy? Buy me a caramel apple, she chirped. I looked back at Sienna and nodded. Yes, this is my daughter, Daisy. Sienna's voice went shrill. She's at least 2 years old. You were sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. That's impossible. She was doing the math frantically. She knew my sentence was non-negotiable. There was no way I could have fathered a child this old. I looked at Daisy, who was tall for her age. She's only 18 months. Her mother is a high-end nutritionist. She's had the best development plan since she was in the womb. Besides, I won my appeal on the second year. You and Lucas were busy on your honeymoon in the Maldives, so I guess you missed the news. I let a small, sharp smile touch my lips. Shortly after the sentencing, Sienna had filed for divorce. Back then, I wasn't this at peace. I couldn't understand how the woman I'd worshipped could turn on me so fast. I'd lost my company, my reputation, and my heart. I'd stopped eating in prison, waiting for the end. That's when she appeared. Sienna's eyes flickered as she searched her memory. If you had just apologized to Lucas, he would have signed the settlement. But you were so stubborn. It's in the past. I interrupted. I didn't want to discuss my darkest days in front of Daisy. I turned to walk toward the trailhead. Enjoy your vacation. I'm going home. The word home seemed to trigger something in Sienna. She followed me. We're old friends, Caleb. Even if things were messy, like you said, it's in the past. Surely you don't mind if I say hello to your wife. She looked at my cheap clothes again, then at Daisy's Elsa-themed princess dress, and a flicker of her old confidence returned. Lucas trailed behind her, sounding smug. It's good that you've accepted reality, Caleb. Settling down with a normal woman is probably for the best. Women as exceptional as Sienna are rare. Once you lose one, you have to lower your standards. And a nutritionist? Interesting. I follow all the top health consultants in the States, and I've never heard of a Vance in the industry. You sure you didn't just make that up to sound fancy? Lucas let out a mocking laugh. Wait, I get it. She's a meal prep lady, right? A glorified cook. I mean, cooking for seniors or soccer moms is technically nutrition, I guess. Sienna frowned, sensing Lucas was being a jerk, but she didn't stop him. Caleb, if she's working as a cook, who's looking after the house? Do you do all the chores while she's away? I stopped and looked at her. Is there something wrong with a man taking care of his family? I work the night shift. I have all day to be with my daughter. Why wouldn't I want that? Daisy would be in preschool in a couple of years. These moments were precious. Sienna sighed, convinced I was just being defensive. Fine, if you want to waste your genius on diaper changes and charcoal, that's your choice. I just hope you don't regret it. Daisy looked up at me, confused. Daddy, what's regret? Will you regret having me? I ruffled her hair. Never, Peanut. Sienna flinched at the double meaning. Caleb, a bright melodic voice called out. Sienna's smug expression shattered the moment she saw who was walking toward us. You? I walked over to my wife and took the bags from her hands. It's getting chilly. I told you to wait at the car. Felicity Bright smiled and pressed a small piece of candied fruit into Daisy's mouth before holding a larger piece up to my lips. We couldn't wait. We both had a sugar craving. Sienna blurted out, Caleb doesn't like sweets. I leaned down and took a bite of the candy from Felicity's hand. Felicity looked at Sienna as if she'd only just noticed her. I'm sorry, did you say something? Sienna's face was frozen. Nothing. Lucas let out a forced chuckle. Sienna, people's tastes change. He used to have class. Now he likes sugar. He used to eat at Michelin-star restaurants. Now he's happy with street food. Lucas looked at Felicity's fuzzy, casual sweater and smirked. He tapped his Patek Philippe watch. Quality costs money. Cheap things always have fatal flaws. Sienna hissed at him, shut up. Felicity had always been fiercely protective. She caught the insult immediately. True, some things are born cheap. You can wrap a pig in designer silk, but it's still just a pig with a very expensive, very empty head. Felicity's tongue was a legend in certain circles. Lucas turned bright red, stammering. If he argued, he was admitting he was the pig. If he didn't, he was taking the hit. Sienna glared at Lucas. You idiot. For the first time ever, Sienna snapped at him. Lucas looked like he was about to cry. Sienna turned to Felicity and handed her a business card with genuine respect. Miss Bright, it's been years. Your wit is as sharp as ever. Lucas's jaw dropped. He couldn't understand why his wife was bowing down to a cook. Sienna, she's a nobody. Why are you giving her a card? Sienna looked like she wanted to crawl into a hole. She's Felicity Bright, Lucas, the woman who manages the health and longevity of half the Forbes 400 list. Felicity smiled thinly. Your husband is right, actually. I'm just a cook. I make 3 meals a day. Lucas started sweating. He'd heard the name. In the world of the ultra-rich, doctors can save you from an infection, but people like Felicity Bright are the ones who keep you from getting old. She was the woman who had reportedly saved the Oracle of Omaha when his health was failing. She didn't use miracles. She used chemistry, elite sourcing, and a deep understanding of the human body. After the legendary investor recovered, he'd publicly called her his honorary daughter. Billionaires didn't just pay her, they begged for her time. Sienna knew that the richer you are, the more you fear death. Her tone became sugary. Don't be modest. If you're just a cook, then the word nutritionist shouldn't exist. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a new, bitter realization. Caleb, I didn't know you were with Felicity. I'm surprised. Sienna remembered. Years ago, when we were together, she'd had a chronic health issue. I'd spent a fortune and pulled every string I had to get Felicity to consult for her. Back then, Sienna had been jealous. She claimed Felicity was too young and pretty to be a real scientist. She'd called her a fraud. But after 3 months of Felicity's regimen, Sienna was healthier than she'd ever been. She'd even tried to get me to hire Felicity for Lucas, her friend at the time. Lucas grew up poor, she'd said. He needs the help. Felicity is just a chef. Just pay her more. She didn't realize that getting Felicity to spend 3 months on one person was a miracle I'd barely managed to pull off. I certainly wasn't going to do it for Lucas. Sienna had started a cold war with me over that refusal. Then came the launch, the punch, and the end. I stood there holding my daughter. Weren't you two going to see the view? You should go before the light fades. We're heading home. Sienna nodded slowly, her emotions a mess of regret and confusion as she watched us walk away hand in hand. As we reached the parking lot, my phone buzzed. Felicity took it out of my pocket and hit speaker. Caleb, you think you're so smart, don't you? Lucas's voice snarled through the line. I stopped walking. What do you want, Lucas? That woman? Felicity Bright? There's no way she's actually with a guy who smells like charcoal. I look her up. Her husband is some tech mogul in Europe. Not you. I blinked. Had I managed to stay that far under the radar? I always wore a mask in public when I was working. You're using your old connection to get her to play house with you, Lucas continued, his voice dripping with venom. You're trying to make Sienna jealous. Well, guess what? Sienna is my wife now. Everything she has is mine. You're a loser, Vance. Daisy whimpered at the angry voice. She leaned toward the phone. Me, man. If you're mean to my daddy, I'll tell the police. Lucas laughed. Kid, you don't know how the world works. I could beat your dad into a pulp and no one would help him. Are you some orphan he rented for the day? Liars go to jail, kid. Maybe I'll have the cops pick you up, too. Daisy didn't cry. She stood taller. Caleb is my daddy. No one is taking us away. You're the one who's going to jail. Lucas, I said, my voice dropping an octave. Stop. Or what? You think meeting Sienna was a coincidence? I know you planned it. You're pathetic. You were so easy to bait 3 years ago. That intimate photo? It was AI generated, you moron. I just needed you to swing first. If you'd apologized, I still wouldn't have let you out. I wanted you to rot. He was gloating now, the high of his perceived power making him reckless. I have your company. I have your wife. You're nothing. Sienna already agreed to start trying for a baby next year. My kid will inherit everything you built. You just fertilize her, Caleb. I hit the stop recording button on my phone. Thanks for the honesty, Lucas. I'll make sure it's put to good use. There was a long silence on the other end. What? What do you mean? I didn't answer. I just sent the audio file directly to Sienna's private number. Felicity took Daisy from my arms, a smirk on her face. You really are a vindictive man, Caleb Vance. I smiled. I'm just making him vomit up what he stole. Sienna thought Lucas was blunt but honest. She needed to see the monster underneath. I didn't care about the company. I could build a better one in a weekend, but I wasn't going to let a parasite like Lucas enjoy the spoils of my work. Lucas practically fell down the stairs of the resort to find Sienna. He heard the sound of glass shattering before he even reached the door. Sienna was trashing the room. When she saw him, her face was a mask of pure, murderous rage. Lucas, explain this. Her voice was shaking. Lucas tried to play it off. I don't know what you're talking about. Did Caleb send you some fake AI audio? We're a team, babe. You can't believe him. Sienna walked up and slapped him so hard his knees buckled. Don't you dare call me babe. You make my skin crawl. She hit play on the recording. Lucas's arrogant, mocking voice filled the suite. I had my forensics team check the metadata the second it arrived, Sienna said, her voice cold as ice. It's untampered. Did you really think I was that stupid? She wanted to tear him apart, but her mind was already racing back to me, to the man she'd thrown away for a lie. We have a prenup, she said. Pack your things and get out. If you're still here in 10 minutes, I'll call security to throw you off the cliff. Lucas panicked. Sienna, wait. I only did it because I loved you. I never hurt you. Sienna didn't listen. She grabbed her car keys and ran out. Lucas chased after her, screaming, but she slammed the car into gear. As Lucas ran into the road to stop her, a delivery truck coming around the bend couldn't brake in time. Sienna watched in the rearview mirror as he was thrown 30 feet. She turned pale, but she didn't get out. She dialed 911. There's been an accident at the resort entrance. Send an ambulance. She hung up and drove straight to the spot where my food truck had been. But the truck was gone. A different vendor was setting up a small taco stand. Excuse me, where's the man who was here? Caleb. The vendor looked up. Oh, Caleb? He was just an apprentice. He only worked here to learn the recipes because his daughter likes the food. I was out sick yesterday, so he covered for me. Where did he go? Sienna asked, her voice breaking. Gone. He was just staying in the valley for a few weeks to relax. He checked out of his rental this morning. Sienna sat on a bench and cried. She ordered a plate of tacos, no spice, but they tasted like ash. She wept so hard the vendor eventually called the police. The officers who arrived were the ones investigating the hit and run. When they identified her as the wife of the man who had just died at the resort entrance, they took her in for questioning. The news of the scandal, the death of Lucas Thorne and the investigation into Sienna Sterling, sent her company's stock into a tailspin, dropping 15% in a single morning. Meanwhile, in a private garden in a Malibu villa, I was standing at a professional-grade grill. Authentic Appalachian barbecue. Come and get it. Coming, Professor. Felicity called out with a wink. She took a slider and took a huge bite, muffled by her praise of my cooking. Daisy was already covered in sauce, grinning from ear to ear. I looked out at the Pacific sunset, the orange light reflecting off the water. Felicity had been a sophomore when I was a senior. I finally remembered the girl who used to leave healthy bento boxes on my desk with a smiley face drawn on the lid. She was right here. I looked toward the sky and whispered to the memory of my mother. I found the happiness I promised you. Story complete.